What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets powered by FTN right here on Game Plus Network. Also live on our FTN Network YouTube page. Mean Streets also available on iTunes and Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcasts. Lots to get to here on the show. We're going to take a look at the most added and drop players as we do every single Wednesday. It's probably going to be the last time we actually do it. Maybe one more time. We're just 2 weeks away from fantasy football playoff time. So at this point, some things that we've been hammering home on this show, just have your running back insurances, maybe a second quarterback, 2 defenses. I see some people rostering 3 defenses. Heck, if you can afford to do that, do it. All right. Just have your weeks kind of planned up, planned out next week. What are you doing? What are you doing week 14? And if you're so lucky to potentially be on your way to a bye, have your team set up for week 15. It's not overthinking it. I really do believe in having all your bases covered. Running back insurances, handcuffs. Doesn't have to be your handcuff. Could be somebody else's handcuff. And 2 defenses, I actually think, is pretty key. 2 kickers, no thanks. Just 1 kicker. Maybe ban them, as Jake Seeley likes to say. So we will take a look at the most added and dropped over at Yahoo. We'll take a look at the most traded CBS. I know there's still some leagues out there that could make some trades, mostly dynasty stuff. We will take a look at the Week 13 NFL betting lines. We have the Thursday Night Football game tomorrow between the Bills and the New England Patriots. And we'll try to make sense of some of these potential crowded running back rooms. We tried to make sense of it yesterday. Hopefully we hear more news today with certain running backs. Michael Carter did not practice today. He's dealing with a low ankle sprain. It's not a high ankle sprain, which is like high graded, which would be like a 4 to 6 week thing. I personally don't think we'll see him. Some people that follow the Jets say it's 50-50. Great. That doesn't really help us out at all. But as you guys will see a little bit later on, somebody we talked about yesterday was Zonovan, a.k.a. Bam Knight, the most added player here in Yahoo leagues over the last 24 hours. But there's a couple other players that I think kind of flew under the radar. We didn't really touch on the San Fran running back room. We'll touch on them in just a little bit. There's 4 games on the ice in the NHL. I got to bounce back. I gave you guys loser picks yesterday. Loser pick. I don't know what to think with Jordan Eberle. I just get a little bit too cute. There's a ton of action on the ice. There were some shot props certainly that we got right and some point props that we were able to hit, as well as some sides and some totals. What a crazy game last night in Los Angeles between the Kraken. That's one that we did have right at plus 110. 9-8? 9-8? Are you kidding me? The in total goal total last night between the Kraken and the Kings heading into the third period was 16.5. And it hit because the Kings came back down 8-6 in the third period to tie it up. 4-point night from Kevin Fiala. And then we had the winner there, I think, from Andre Burakovsky. And the Kraken continue to impress me. I didn't think that they had 9 goals in them. I know the Kings are atrocious defensively. Their goaltending is very shady, and we saw that last night. But poor Martin Jones, I mean, he got the W last night against a former squad, but he was held in the net for all 8 goals allowed. It was actually a really entertaining hockey game, and the Kraken continue to impress me. But 4 games on the ice tonight. We'll dive into some shot props, and I'll call some goals. There's a ton of action in the NBA. I really should have some NBA props and some picks on this show. I should dive back into it. I know a couple weeks ago we were giving 3-point props and things like that. I think when the NBA slows down, we can get into it. But moving forward, that will be a goal of mine. This is not going to just be heavy football and NHL. There's other sports that we want to cover on this show. Of course, when the MLB is in full swing, we're always talking about Major League Baseball. How about a Jose Altuve? Not Jose Altuve. Former AL MVP, Jose Abreu. Are you kidding me? The Astros? I mean, I'm just so sick of the Astros and so frustrated with the Astros. I saw a report last night. They're into Contreras, catcher for the Cubs there. It's just, the rich get richer. How richer can you get? I mean, you're getting a guy who's a former MVP who has extreme contact. His contact skills are phenomenal. He's going to be the everyday first baseman. Most likely, I'd say Yuli Gurriel. Maybe they move on from him. He's just like a utility role type deal there with the Astros. But a contact guy that's probably going to clean up for them. I mean, it's just a loaded lineup. My Angels have no chance to get it done when the Astros just continue to just win ball games and get whoever the heck they want. Anyways, that's my mini rant here. Maybe we will have an NBA proper too towards the end. 13 games on the schedule. We got to do it. See some people hanging out here in the chat. If you guys can smash the like button, subscribe. We're up to 7,000 subscribers on our FTN Network YouTube page. Pretty happy about that. We know we're just a couple years old and we've seen some steady growth on our FTN Network YouTube page. A lot happening I want to give a little bit of love to. We have the college basketball show. We have 2 college basketball shows. We have one with Walter Waddell, who's phenomenal. I don't know how he does it. He's an absolute beast. He goes live at random hours of the night. You can watch the replay maybe in the morning, or if you're hanging out live at around 12 Eastern, he's there with you, and he's giving you all the plays in college basketball. And he's a big college football fan as well. DFS plays, betting, super, super sharp. Mike Randall has been hot fire. Every time I see Randall tweet and his picks inside the bet tracker, the college basketball picks, it looks like winners nonstop. His college basketball show, usually, it depends on the schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, depending on where the games fall. So that's a free show. We have a PrizePicks prop show coming at you every single day for the most part. That's the goal. When there's lighter nights in the NBA, you won't see too many videos, but we do have a video up today already from our guy, Dane Martinez, who also has the daily bet show 5 days a week at 2 Eastern on FTN Network. Of course, we have Set Bet Spike, we have Dangle Bet Sally, we have Betting with Benny, we have All in Football with Jake Seeley. A lot happening on our FTN Network YouTube page. So appreciate everybody. Kyle says he smashed. We'll get to that question on the other side of the break. Tyler hanging out with us as well. We will get to some of those questions. And just one thing I wanted to say off the top. I know I kind of sound like a broken record, but ftnbets.com/free, ftndaily.com/free, 3-day free trials on both of those websites. A really nice opportunity to see what we have to offer from a betting angle. Discord, you can hang out with us for a little bit. We can talk bankroll management. You can see all of our picks across all the sports from everybody over at ftnbets.com. And you have projections and tools to kind of help you set your starter sit lineups, or, your fantasy football lineups and things like that. Also have over at FTN Daily, you can take advantage of the optimizer. You can see some of the projections for your DFS lineups. Of course, I have the Showdown show happening tomorrow, and then a show on Friday and a show on Sunday to kind of get you guys set up. But lots happening. Just take advantage of it. Links inside the description of this video as well. We also have the free pick tracker over at ftndaily.com. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to dive into some of these running back questions. A lot there to get to. And also, we'll take a look at the week 13 lines. There's a lot of question marks with certain running backs right now, but we'll try to make sense of it. It's still early. Wednesday's a huge day in terms of guys getting on the field and practicing. Friday, of course, is the biggest day, but there is a lot of questionable players, this week, which we got to try to make sense of it, because there's a lot of running backs that may get touches that we really don't expect to get touches. So we'll dive into all of that here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Back in a couple.
I can't say enough about what we've got going on over at ftnbets.com.
At FTN Bets, your bankroll can be profitable. With the FTN Bet Tracker, you can tell your favorite experts across all sports, including the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball.
Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. I'm your host, Chris Meaney.
And with our premium content, you can take your bets to the next level. Only $49.99 a month. Use the tools the pros use at FTN. Our betting models run over 100,000 simulations of every game, with sides and totals in the NFL, the NBA, and more. Use the home run predictor to see who'll hit a bomb deep. Our NFL player projections will make you a DFS king. And the FTN Prop Shop always finds the best odds for your player props. All tools, projections, and models are powered by FTN Daily.
Welcome back in. Tyler, let's take a look at the most added players in Yahoo over the last 24 hours. Again, waivers could run for you this evening, maybe give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So Zonovan Knight was that guy. So I saw a lot of bucks get tossed around in a 16-team dynasty league. I had a lot of money. I had like $80, so I overpaid to get him. I think it was like $27 or something like that to roster him. And I don't even really think I need him. I don't think he's going to sniff my roster, even if Michael Carter doesn't start, but he should be rostered. He should be picked up. I saw a lot of money flying around with him. Now, there's a report from Zach Rosenblatt, who covers the Jets over at The Athletic, said Robert Saleh said with the RB rotation, it will be a, quote, week-to-week thing, was in regard to how the Jets plan to use James Robinson. Jake Seeley on All In Football was talking about James Robinson having, like, if he has 250 rushing yards with the Jets, that 6th-round pick becomes a 5th-round pick. Are they worried about giving him 250 rushing yards? Can he get 250 rushing yards even if they give him a ton of carries? I think that they could. He's only played 3 games with the Jets. He's like 48. I think he's like 65 roughly rushing yards in his 3 games with the Jets. And what are they worried about, honestly? Like, they have playoff aspirations. You know, they acquired this guy, and maybe they just don't feel like he's the guy that they thought that they were acquiring, or maybe Zonovan White has just been trending up in this offense in practice. You know, there's some reporters that are following this team, and they have talked him up a couple times over the past couple of weeks, really, that he's been impressive in practice. And honestly, I think he's earned a role. Even if Michael Carter does suit up this week, you still have Tevin Coleman. If Michael Carter doesn't suit up, I would expect James Robinson to be active. You're not starting James Robinson. As we get to the drops, he's one of the most dropped players. I don't think it's a mistake. You know, I'd rather stash other running backs. And certainly if you're in need of, you know, a healthy body as your RB2 or a flex, just to punch your ticket into the playoffs, you can't be messing around with James Robinson. But it could be a crowded backfield. But I really do believe that White, a.k.a. Bam, on NFL Fantasy, NFL.com leagues, I think that he's earned himself touches regardless as if Carter is active or not. So just speculating, it's really early. I don't believe Michael Carter will play, and I do believe that Zonovan White will have a majority of the first and second down opportunities inside this offense, and Ty Johnson as like a 3rd down back who can catch a few passes out of the backfield. It is a matchup against the Vikings, and you know the Vikings have a really good offense, but this Jets defense has been fantastic. The true identity with this New York Jets team, as good as Mike White was last week and how he had some moments last year as well. And I'm certainly rooting for this guy. There's no question. I really am. I think Jets fans are completely done with Zach Wilson as well. And so I do believe the identity with this team is to run the rock and run the football. So like I said, I think Zonovan is a good ad. It could get a little crowded for sure. But I got, as of right now, if there's no Carter, I'm going to have Zonovan ranked as like a low-end RB2. Zay Jones, I don't know what took people so long to roster Zay Jones. It is what it is. 24 targets in his last 2 games. Some highs and some lows this season for sure. It's the best possible matchup you can ask for against the Detroit Lions. It's one of the highest total games of the week between Jacksonville and Detroit. And you see Trevor Lawrence there on the board. Mentioned yesterday I was going to personally, for me, drop Geno Smith for Trevor Lawrence. I got them side by side in my rankings. I got Lawrence 1 spot ahead. I know the Rams are completely out of it. And then, you know, guys are dropping like flies and they're shutting down players, you know, left, right, and center. But I still like Trevor Lawrence coming off his best game as an NFL starter, and also just love the spot. So, you know, that could be a really nice connection, Zay Jones and Trevor Lawrence. And Zay Jones was good last year towards the end of the season as a member of the Las Vegas Raiders as well. He really was. JaMycal Hasty in here. Deshaun Watson, of course, his first game is just so happens to be in Houston against his former squad. Hasn't played in over 700 days, but I do have him ranked as a top 12 quarterback. Benny Snell, Jordan Mason, Mike White, Kerwin Williams, and Foster Moreau, who's played 100% of the snaps for the Raiders over the last 2 weeks. I have him ranked as a top 10 tight end. I would play him over Dulcich. If you were wondering about him and Dulcich. I also think Jelani Woods. Do we have the Jelani Woods board that we didn't bring up yesterday, Tyler? Do you have that at all? It was just from targets, tight end targets from week 12. Is this a one-off? I don't know. He had another good game earlier in the year. We've seen some tight ends not pop off the way that Woods did against the Steelers. There it is there. The 9 targets, Hayden Hurst 9, Travis Kelce, Andrews and Njoku, and Foster Moreau. So Foster Moreau and Joku, I think, are, in pretty good spots. Just 100% of the snaps, as I mentioned, for Foster Moreau. The defense is not great. Could be a high-scoring game there between the Raiders and the Chargers this week. And then in Joku, you could say whatever you want about Deshaun Watson not throwing to tight ends over the course of his career, but give me a tight end that he's played that's been good. You can't. There's been none. And the Texans, they just haven't had him. And Joku's definitely going to be the best tight end he's ever had. And who knows who his number one guy is going to be. It could be Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm excited about all these guys inside the Browns offense. David Njoku, Amari Cooper, and also Donovan Peoples-Jones, Mark Andrews and Kelsey. These guys are studs. Hayden Hurst is, his volume is going to come down just a little bit, especially with Jamar Chase looking like he's going to return this week. But Jelani Woods is a big body. This guy is huge. I joke with Jake that he's like 7'7". I think he's 6'8". Was last week an outlier? Potentially. It could be, but also, with Matt Ryan, this guy can't throw the football down the field. And he just has a history of locking into certain guys. And that's what we saw last week with the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a tough matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Matt Ryan, right? I mean, the Dallas Cowboys can bring it. They lead the league in sacks. Micah Parsons is an absolute monster. They're 11-point favorites. They're going to bring the heat and bring the pressure. I don't know if I'm starting Paris Campbell. I'm pretty sure I'm not. Michael Pittman is like a low-end wide receiver 3. Still a guy I do believe will get some looks. And Jelani Woods I looked at our rankings over at ftnfantasy.com. Jeff Ratcliffe, super sharp. We'll see where he makes some adjustments as we get closer into the week. And Jeremy's on there, and Tyler and Adam Pfeiffer guys are ranking. I have him ranked the highest. I have him roughly tight end 14. Once you get past the first few, the elite guys, like I think Hawkinson is elite. I think he deserves to be in that conversation. Honestly, like if you want to go Kelsey just one, and then the next tier would be Andrews. I think Hawkinson deserves to be in that tier with Andrews, especially just what we've seen from him over the past couple of weeks as a member of the Minnesota Vikings, right? We've been cashing on his props since he's been there. I don't know the numbers offhand, but before last week, he had 29 targets in 3 games. He was second in red zone targets. He's been a beast in the 4 games with the Vikings. He's been utilized a lot more than he was in Detroit, and especially inside the red zone, which kind of cut into Adam Thielen, even though Thielen had a touchdown. I think they all had touchdowns last week in the game against the Pats. Certainly Thielen and Hawkinson did. But Jelani Woods is an interesting tight end to roster. As I mentioned, I'll be, swapping him out for Dulcich. On that San Fran board, can we bring up the top 10 added again? I think there's a couple here that are just, I don't want to say mistakes, but maybe fool's gold, like Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's a special teams player. That's why he's active. Honestly, I think the guy to get that's not on this list for San Fran that could be sneaky is Tevin Coleman. Tyrion Davis-Price hasn't really shown us anything this year. He's had opportunity. There's been opportunity. We saw Elijah Mitchell go down, right? Jeff Wilson wasn't 100% a couple times earlier this year as a member of the 49ers. We've been in this situation before. We've seen it kind of play out. What happened? It was Tevin Coleman. Kyle Shanahan went to the experienced running back that he's known for years, that he had in Atlanta, that he had in San Fran a couple of years ago, that he has in San Fran again right now. He's been inactive because they've had Elijah Mitchell and they've had CMC. Then they have, Jordan Mason, who's a special teams guy, Jusic, who's, fullback that, if he gets that extra yard, he's always going to kind of be in there. And we're not really thinking about him. Tyrion Davis-Price, yeah, they drafted him in the 3rd round. They like this guy. It doesn't matter. They drafted, who's the guy that they drafted? Was it Trey? Why am I forgetting about him? I don't know if Tyler, you can help me out, but anyways, he got shipped off. He was released and he went to the Eagles. He was a 3rd round pick for them as well. They've had a couple 3rd round picks over the past couple of years that haven't really done anything. If people are hanging out in the chat, you guys can maybe help me out with this. But I think Tevin Coleman is the sneaky running back. I think he's going to be active this week. And I just feel like where the 49ers are right now, playoff aspirations, Super Bowl aspirations, Trey Sermon, thank you. Sermon, Tyler, GOAT. Is another guy, right, that they drafted in the 3rd round. I was like, oh, well, maybe we dropped the ball here. Elijah's better than him. Also a guy they drafted last year in the 6th. Elijah was good. But the Niners, Super Bowl aspirations, clearly Shanahan and company didn't feel fantastic. When you get a chance to get CMC, you get CMC, right? You go and get CMC. But clearly there was some issues that they had, of course, with maybe Jeff Wilson, maybe not as durable, and then you have obviously Elijah Mitchell, who hasn't been able to stay healthy over the couple of years that he's been in the NFL. So there's probably in the back of their minds like they needed some insurance and get a guy like CMC. Great. But they probably didn't feel all that great about Mason or Tyrion Davis-Price either, right? So they wanted to upgrade at the running back position. I just feel like Tevin Coleman, as the veteran in the back that knows the offense, I feel like he is going to play over a guy like Mason and Tyrion Davis-Price. They know what they have in Tevin Coleman. He's had a couple decent games, I think, so far this season as well, right? I mean, I'm going to take a look at the numbers here. I mean, it's not going to blow you away, but we did see Tevin Coleman at 1.8 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. That was week 5. I 1% ownership in Yahoo. I grabbed him everywhere I could, just to stash him. I'm not saying to start him this week, but CMC is also not 100%. And Shanahan didn't want to give CMC, he hasn't shown us that he wants to give CMC a full workload. He wants to keep him fresh into the playoffs. Now he's dealing with this knee thing. You got Elijah out, right? So there's some winnable games here for the Niners. As I mentioned, they do have Super Bowl aspirations. They want to lock down that division. They're going to do what it takes to win games. Obviously, their best opportunity, and I think that is with Tevin Coleman as the secondary piece inside this offense. So I think Mason is a bit of a trap. Have him if you want. Tyrion Davis-Price, seeing some money spent on both of these guys this morning and late last night, and Tevin Coleman going for free. So I think he's a sneaky ad. Is there anybody else on that list that we can get into, Tyler, that I didn't? I think that's it. Kyren Williams. Cam Akers, let's transition over to the most dropped here, and we could do that. I mean, we can touch on Snell in just a little bit as well. Kenyon Drake, I get this. J.K. Dobbins sounds like he's going to be back, but, if you're in a deep league, just a stash. If J.K. Dobbins comes back, I don't feel good about anybody inside this offense, other Lamar and Andrews. Honestly, I don't want to play any of the wide receivers. Likely's hurt. So, those that play, 2 tight ends in deep formats, you got to find another option there. Jelani Woods is a guy that does stand out. Kenyon Drake is third. He's an afterthought when J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards is active and playing. Dulcich, I totally get this, right? My bad for suggesting this guy. He had a touchdown last week, called back. And a couple weeks ago, off his fingertips would have been like a 60-yard touchdown. What if, right? You can't really play that game. The Broncos offense is just atrocious. It's absolutely brutal. So guys like Jelani Woods, Foster Moreau, these are guys I would play over him. Heck, I'd probably even play Juwan Johnson, even though I'm not getting a lot from him. He's at least gotten some touchdowns over the past couple weeks. James Robinson, Paris Campbell, Cam Akers dropped. I thought it was a little bit of a surprise. He's still getting some touches, to the backfield. It's tough to really just drop healthy running backs, but Kyren Williams has been dominating the carries on the ground, and he's the pass catching running back inside this offense. And they just don't have a lot of pieces at all, really. Like Van Jefferson is the number 1 target now inside this offense. Stafford's going to get shut down, I think, for the year. Aaron Donald's going to get shut down for the year. Everybody's getting shut down. Robinson, Cooper Kupp, shut down across the board for the Rams. It's so tough to repeat, right? You just need to have everything go your way, and really nothing has gone LA's way this year. A ton of injuries on the squad, and it all started with the offensive line. But Kyren Williams is very interesting to me. I would definitely play him over Cam Akers, but you could be in a tough spot, play Akers as a flex, but really you're just going to get like anywhere from 5 to 9 points, maybe goal line touches if they can get down there. But I think they're going to let Kerwin kind of, take a majority of the touches on the ground on first and second down, and especially the third down opportunities where the Rams are going to be dogs for the rest of the year. Curtis Samuel, right? Ever since Taylor Heineke took over, we've just seen an uptick in Terry McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel's not doing a whole lot. Plus, this is a team that really wants to run the football. Russell Wilson, what took you so long to drop this guy? Do we have a live look of Russell Wilson? We don't need to do it. There it is, Russell Wilson. Kadarius Toney. Is the third time he's been on this list. I think we got that one right when we mentioned as a sell high candidate, Kadarius Toney, the minute that he landed in Kansas City with the Chiefs. I like the long-term outlook. I think he's a good buy low in dynasty leagues. I think he's a decent buy low in dynasty leagues. We'll say that because there's still a lot going on there with Juju back and MVS. I know Mecole Hardman's on IR, and Sky Moore is trending up back-to-back weeks with 6 targets and 5 grabs. Sky Moore is a guy that I think he's a really nice stash as well. Tyler Boyd, pretty surprised to see that drop. I know he hasn't done anything over the past couple weeks. Another thinking is probably Jamar Chase is coming back, but it's not always so cut and dry. Jamar Chase comes back. You see some soft coverage for Tyler Boyd. Jamar Chase is not playing. More focus on guys like Tyler Boyd, but yeah. I guess I get it. But before Jamar Chase went down, Tyler Boyd actually had more fantasy points than T. Higgins. He was a wide receiver 2, and T. Higgins was a low-end wide receiver 2. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tyler Boyd popped off this week in a high total game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Benny Snell thing, there was a report. Let me see if I can get this report correct. It was about Najee Harris. So Najee Harris, I just want to get the right the right source. It was his rap sheet. Like he needs any more credit. But the Ian Rappaport from NFL Network had said that Najee Harris did not suffer a serious injury, but his status for this week was up in the air. Now, Jake Seeley thinks Jaylen Warren, if Warren is active and he's practicing in full, that he would be the guy that he would play in the Steelers' backfield. I think it would be crowded. I think that Benny Snell, even though there's been numerous times over the past few years where Benny Snell has had an opportunity at touches and he hasn't been all that great. He hasn't been super efficient. And we do have a history with Mike Tomlin when the Steelers starting running back goes out, the next guy up is getting a bulk of the touches. But I think it could be a little crowded. With Jaylen Warren, with Benny Snell, who closed out the game last week, I thought looked pretty good against the Colts. Caught a pass. As I mentioned, ran out the clock, couple nice strong runs from him. And then you have Anthony McFarland, who's just like a third down pass catching back. Like if Najee doesn't play, you probably see him maybe catch one or two passes. They are favorites on the road this week against the Falcons. And it is a really good spot against the Falcons. I think Benny Snell is interesting, honestly. I do believe that he is going to get some touches if there's no Najee, and I think it would just be straight up crowded, and I think you probably want to avoid all of it, but I think Snell is a really nice pickup, a sneaky pickup if Najee does miss some time, but as the report suggests, it looks like he avoided a serious injury, so it could just be a weekly thing. I see some questions, and I want to get to them, so we'll take a quick break, and we will dive into the questions. I really just wanted to hammer home Tevin Coleman with you guys. I don't think he's going to be a league winner, but I think he is sneaky. And the Mason thing, I probably would just flop him right now. Like if you got Mason, you want to hold out, fine. I do believe that he was only active because he's a special teams player. I think Tevin Coleman is the veteran back. We'll step in and get some touches there. Unfortunately, CMC is just not being used the way that we're accustomed to seeing. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get to all these questions. Leave in. Go Sharks. Killing me with the Sharks. Last night I had the over between the Sharks and the Habs. There was like 100 power plays in that game last night. How do we not get the over? There's no goals. I know the Sharks have the best penalty kill in the league, but I expect a little bit more offense, but the Sharks got a tough one here tonight against the Maple Leafs. We got some hockey talk a little bit later on in the show. We're going to break and get into some of these questions in just a couple minutes. Hang tight, guys. We return here on In-Game Plus Network in a couple. Just seeing now, Kyle Pitts underwent season-ending knee surgery yesterday, so his season is done. We kind of figured his season would be over. Hopefully, we could see him healthy back And with a new quarterback, I'd like to see that next year for Kyle Pitts. I don't think he's going to go as the top 3 tight end, top 4 tight end next year. Can almost bank on that unless Atlanta does something drastic at the quarterback position, which I just don't feel will be the case. One thing I didn't touch on in the backfield, I kind of just glossed over, was JaMychal Hasty. Now, Doug Peterson says he feels good about Travis Etienne playing this week. And then there's another report that said he has a chance to play this week, which doesn't really sound all that promising. You know, I'm maybe I'm overthinking things like this, but as a running back that has got a lot of touches over the past couple weeks, and he's been really good. Selfishly, I'd love to see this guy play and get 20 touches again, especially in this matchup against Detroit. It's one of the highest totals, as I alluded to earlier. I think we'll see a lot of points. I wouldn't be shocked if they scale back a little bit. I'd still play Travis Etienne, but it's not a given that it's going to be JaMychal Hasty. It could be Darrell Henderson as well. Like, they picked up Henderson. Hasty's more like a third down, change of pace type guy. He's a very tiny running back. So is Etienne, but I don't expect JaMychal Hasty to just, if there's no to Etienne, I don't expect Hasty to just get 20 plus touches. I would say that it'd be a split. And if it was like, if Hasty, I don't know, had a fumble or it wasn't all that efficient against Detroit, you could see Henderson in there. And if he has a nice couple runs, and Peterson will ride the hot hand with a lot of these guys. So that's one thing to monitor, to keep in mind. I don't think it's so cut and dry as that JaMychal Hasty is just going to get a ton of touches. If Etienne starts, you play him, just given his upside in the matchup. Let's get to some of these questions. Tyler, let's roll through some of these. Kyle Woods in the house. What's going on, good sir? RB2 help. I grabbed Darrell Henderson, Jalen Warren, and Jelani Woods there off waivers. I'm also interested in Coleman. Drop any of these guys for him. Carter was RB2 and Knight gone already. Wow. Are you starting Woods? You're starting Woods as your tight end, I would assume, like just your second tight end. I'd maybe think about him, moving on from him. You know, if there's no Najee, again, I do believe that it's going to be crowded in Pittsburgh with Warren and Snell if there's no Najee. So I don't think like you'll feel great about Warren. I don't know if you'll feel great about Henderson either, but there could be a setback. We could see a setback with Travis Etienne. I would say that you just you hang with what you got. I'm with you on Coleman. I think he's a sneaky ad. I think he's a sneaky good stash. If they shut down CMC or if he suffers that injury, I do fully believe that Tevin Coleman would be the lead in out of this backfield. I fully believe that. So I understand wanting to grab him, but you're in a situation right now where maybe Etienne gets shut down, suffers that setback, and you see Henderson just really get a bulk of the work here down the stretch. So I think that's very valuable. No, you got Taysom as your other tight end, so you got to play Jelani Woods there. I think I would hang tight, dude. The other guy is Warren. Just hearing the news that it's not a serious injury, you know, you could maybe move on from Warren. That's it, right? Hopefully I helped you out there. I kind of lean like Warren is that guy that I would drop, but I'd say hang tight. Maybe we hear more news. I don't think people are going to rush to Tevin Coleman. I think it's just me being crazy, partly, right? Shanahan's done this. He's fooled me a million times, where maybe I'm overthinking a little bit, but I do believe that he's going to have a role as the experience back. He knows the offense. And that's super key. They brought him back for a reason. So we'll move on from that one. Maybe you can just hang tight. You hear more news about Najee, and then you can make that move. Do you think it's possible to survive rest of the season with Etienne, Hasty, Knight, Dillon, Tyrion Davis-Price, plus Herbert, Dobbins, and Mike Boone returning from you? You got it. Looks like one of my squads there, Tyler. Would you rather make a trade for a better RB2? I would rather make a trade for a better RB2 if you can. You may have to just package a bunch of these guys. The rest of your team is stacked. You got Kyler, Justin Jefferson, Devontae, Marquise, Ayuk, Schultz. I'm really just struggling at the RB2 next to ETN. And you just hope for it's nice that you got Hasty you got that handcuff potentially. So if anything happens here to ETN, he gets shut down. You got Hasty in there. Knight could just be like a 1 week thing, or, you know, maybe he strives in this offense. Maybe he's an RB2 for you. Dylan, right? We played this game with Dylan. You know, Yahoo's ranking projected for double-digit fantasy points. I don't know if I believe it. It is a good matchup against the Bears. I don't know. I would try to make a trade, but I don't know what you do here, like what you could flip. Let's see the rest of your team. You know, you're rolling out Devontae and JJ every week. Hollywood is back. Hollywood's on bye, so you're not going to get anything for him. You'd have to trade Ayuk. Yeah, I mean, you could package a bunch of these guys, but I don't know. I think you're kind of just stuck, right? I think you're just stuck at the RB2. you stuck with what you got, rolling out these guys at RB2. I think you could roll out Knight this week, even if Carter does play. Or if you don't feel comfortable with that, you roll out Dylan and you hope that he can find the end zone and get a touchdown there for you. But Dobbins is a guy that I don't think you can be able to trust. Mike Boone, I don't think you're really going to be able to trust either. TDP, I don't think so. And yeah, Tyler, I think you may be stuck, dude. You may have to get rid of one of those wide receivers. You could package some of these guys, like take a look at your league, like who is super desperate. I would take a look at teams that are, I don't know, in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place that are 1 or 2 out, and their running back position is just so bleak. Maybe you could just trade Dylan off last week's game, or you could sell high on, or I don't even know, you're not even selling high. Maybe you just like sell Dobbins or sell one of these running backs. Honestly, to get the best return, you probably have to deal Knight and sell high on this guy. But that could be a mistake. He could turn out to be a low end RB2 for you down the stretch. So I think you just explore your options with RB needy teams, but you're also pretty desperate there as well. I just roll with what you got, I think. Deesh, no question, just here to say I hate tight end. Rolling with Knox because why not? Yeah. Mr. Nice, I agree. He's a target monster. I don't know if that is that's Knight. That's Knox being a target monster. I don't think he really did anything in that Thanksgiving game against the Lions, but he did have a good game the week before that. Yeah, tight ends are not great. Probably one experienced running back in the backfield right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, thank you, Ty. Making things challenging here for you. Start two start question for you. Bo Knight, this is Bam, or McKenzie for the Bills. Then pick 2, Lamar, Lawrence, Watson for his first game, or Geno Smith. So you got some quarterback options there. I have Lamar ranked the highest. I think I would play him. Lamar Jackson, he's not throwing a lot of touchdowns. He still gives you that rushing upside. I think he's the safest. I do believe that Watson actually has the higher ceiling, if that makes any sense, because you have a nice rushing floor with Lamar. I have them rank Lamar, Lawrence, and Watson. It's Watson's first game. There's a lot of question marks. Actually, I have Geno ahead of. No, I would put Geno 4th on this list against the Rams. I know it's the Rams, and you got a lot of injuries there. I would play Lamar. I think you're in a decent spot. Like, a lot of these quarterbacks have pretty good matchups, but I would play Lamar there. And then I would go with Knight over McKenzie. I don't know if that was a one-off. Detroit played a lot of a one-on-one, and Isaiah McKenzie was burning them all over the field. It's against the Pats this week. The Pats are going to try to take away Stephon Diggs, but I would play Knight. I feel a little bit better about playing a running back. You're at least guaranteed some touches. So that's kind of the way I would go here. We get maybe, we see a couple more here. So we'll just break, guys. Brett Thunderstruck in the house, my guy. We'll get to this. Kyrie in the house, panic on CMC. Yes, absolutely. We will get to some of this stuff as well. You and the Athletic Report, Kyle Woods. Jake told me that this morning. It was, I forget the beat writer that follows the San Francisco 49ers, but we'll give him some love. I did not know that he mentioned Tevin Coleman. It does make me feel a little bit better about Tevin Coleman. I think his last name starts with a B. We'll get it. We'll get it for you guys. Super sharp. I used to work with him at the Athletic. I should know his name. Maybe we can get him to come on and try to make sense of the San Francisco backfield. A little bit better than having me ramble on. Maybe I'll look into that. Well, hang tight. We'll be back in a couple.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on nearly any sport imaginable. The NFL, the NBA, college football, college basketball, golf, the NHL, tennis, Major League Baseball, MMA, and more. Download the DK Sportsbook app on iOS and Android operating systems, as well as on your desktops or in mobile browsers. Get the best bonuses using promo code FTN. Remember, the only way to gamble responsibly is to win. PrizePicks is a creative new way to parlay picks based on expected fantasy point production and single stat projections. You pick 2 to 5 players and predict if they'll go over or under their projected fantasy point total or their single stat total. When parlaying the players, the larger your parlay, the better the payout. A 2-pick entry pays 3x. A 3-pick entry pays 5x. A 4-pick entry pays 10x. As a bonus offer, there's a flex play option. This provides an added level of security on your entry where you can decrease your multiplier received if you miss one of your entries, but hit on all the others. At FTN, we have PrizePicks coverage for every sport in both article and standalone pick format on our PrizePicks pick tracker. Use promo code FTN for a 100% deposit match on your first deposit of up to $100.
Welcome back in. Thank you, Kyle. Matt Barrows of The Athletic, who covers the 49ers. I just saw the exact quote. He said paraphrasing a little bit, he said he wouldn't be surprised like Tevin Coleman has that experience back. So maybe we're onto something. Matt's a lot sharper than I am, and he's in tune with the team. So sneaky little ad there. Let's get to the rest of the questions that I couldn't get to in that break. I think we left off with Brett there about Tony. I would drop him for Sky Moore. I see one guy trending up and one guy trending down. One guy's been hanging out in the offense all year. I like Sky Moore as a player. I can't ignore back-to-back weeks with 6 targets and 5 grabs where Tony's not doing anything. So we start 3 wide receivers, so there's not much on the wire. I mean, start the guy who's healthy and active right now. I think you're looking for like that stash potentially. I don't know if you need somebody this week. Clearly, if you need somebody this week, it's going to be Sky. But I think that Sky is a guy that's interesting. Panic on CMC. He's been awful since that crazy 40-point game. He hasn't really been getting the touches, right? He's not getting the same type of work that we're used to seeing with CMC. And it's a Shanahan maybe keeping him fresh. Maybe they knew that there was a little bit of a knee injury there, but he's at least catching some passes. 4, 7, 4, 8. Weird things happening with my throat. Battling a cold here. 2.9 yards per carry, 2.7 yards per carry. Those are obviously not great numbers, but what are you going to do? Like, who are you going to start CMC over? You know what I mean? Like, Ramondre Stevenson? Sure. Let me just see what we have him projected for. We have him projected for 15.5 fantasy points in a half-point setting. That is RB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have Ramondre over him. I would play. These are the running backs I would play over him. I mean, Eckler, Jacobs, Henry, Chubb, Walker, Taylor, Jones, Ramondre. I would play Dalvin Cook. I would even play Saquon in a tough spot against Washington. That's probably where I draw the line. ETN, right? Also dealing with an injury. Really good matchup, but I would play CMC over him. Montgomery is like the only bear I think I would play, and I don't feel great about him. Rashad White, we don't know about, Lenny and things like that. Oh, you do have a start one question, so maybe we can start one. CMC, Murray, is that Latavius? Pickens and Burks. Really like the direction of Pickens and Burks. Talked a lot about Pickens yesterday. I think he is a future stud in this league. I would just play CMC still. I know, Kyrie, you've been burned and you haven't feel too great about CMC, but I would just I would roll him out, honestly. I would, as long as he is active and he is playing, that's it. Shanahan called it a knee irritation, I do believe, yesterday. He has been splitting some work, but he's just, even CMC with like 10, 12 touches could outproduce those guys. I mean, Latavius, I'm playing CMC over Latavius if that's Latavius. And I think you're just kind of rolling the dice with the other guys. Treylon Burks, I do like. It's a matchup against the Eagles. I expect them to run the rock and run it really well against Philly with Derrick Henry. But I would play CMC there, dude. That's kind of where I'm at. With KC's playoff schedule is Melvin Gordon, dark horse league winner. Big smiley emoji there. I suppose he could be a dark horse league winner. Do we have the most traded? I think Isaiah Pacheco is on this list. I am a little bit concerned about Pacheco. Melvin Gordon is a veteran back. He knows the division well. This is a third team inside the AFC West. I'd say they picked him up because they don't really like Ronald Jones. Like, Ronald Jones was active last week and he had a couple touches. We know what Jared McKinnon does inside this offense, and CEH is on IR. So I would say that Pacheco still gets a bulk of the first and second down opportunities. He's gotten some red zone rushing attempts over the past couple games, which is great for him. I'd say maybe like a dark horse winner, sure. we're looking for a long shot here. If anything happens to Pacheco, it's not going to be Jerick McKinnon getting 10 or 12 carries on the ground. It's going to be Melvin Gordon getting 10 or 12 carries. Maybe you change the scenery. Getting the heck out of Denver is great for everybody. You see, I think he himself tweeted a picture of him driving down the road, getting, away from the crap show that has been the Denver Broncos. This is brutal. Yeah. I held on to him. I knew somebody would pick him up. I mean, I'm not starting him this week, but pick him up. I think that's it for the questions. I think we kind of hit them all. Kyrie, if you want to see some of our projections, FTN bets, ftndaily.com/free, sign up for free. Get the free day trial in there and help you, I think, with some of those questions that you could potentially have. And maybe let's touch on it one more time quickly, the trades. The trade list here, and I just want to so Alvin Kamara, I'd be looking to get him off my roster. I have him ranked as RB25. Are you concerned about CMC? Have concerns about Alvin Kamara? Absolutely. Terry McLaurin, I'd like to acquire him. George Kittle, I think that's just, hey, you pick up Foster Moreau, or you feel decent about a certain tight end, and you want to help out the balance of your squad. But I do believe he's still a top 5 tight end. And after that, what are we talking about here? Keenan Allen, I think this is like selling high on Keenan Allen coming back. I'd be willing to buy Keenan Allen. If somebody is like, he had a good week and done, I'm getting rid of him. Hopefully he stays healthy for you. It's still a pass-happy offense, and Keenan Allen does have a lot to offer. I love Brian Robinson Jr. We talked about him being a league winner. It's back-to-back weeks now. He's had really nice touchdown runs. He's got a phenomenal matchup this week against the Giants. Then they're on bye, and then coming out of the bye, they get the Giants again. I really like Brian Robinson Jr. He runs really hard, and he's getting those touches, and Washington wants to run the football. Jeff Wilson sounds like he is going to be good to go. If not, Raheem Mostert good to go. If both of these guys don't play. Myles Gaskin's another guy, right, that we didn't touch on. The rookie wall with Dameon Pierce, I do believe in it. More touches, than he had in college. It was like a 3-man rotation last year in college. He didn't get a ton of play, but Pierce this week against Cleveland, a pretty good spot. Maybe that's the thinking of a couple owners that they would just get out now, and looking at that matchup against the Browns, that maybe he could have some success. But I still believe that he is a decent low end RB2, but he has been a guy that has not looked great over the past couple of weeks. Albert in the house, we can get to that on the other side of the break. We are going to break one more time, take a look at the Week 13 NFL betting lines. I got some NHL props here for you to round out Mean Streets. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Hang tight.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on nearly any sport imaginable. The NFL, the NBA, college football, college basketball, golf, the NHL, tennis, Major League Baseball, MMA, and more. Download the DK Sportsbook app on iOS and Android operating systems, as well as on your desktops or in mobile browsers. Get the best bonuses using promo code FTN. Remember, the only way to gamble responsibly is to win. PrizePicks is a creative new way to parlay picks based on expected fantasy point production and single stat projections. You pick 2 to 5 players and predict if they'll go over or under their projected fantasy point total or their single stat total. When parlaying the players, the larger your parlay, the better the payout. A 2-pick entry pays 3x. A 3-pick entry pays 5x. A 4-pick entry pays 10x. As a bonus offer, there's a flex play option. This provides an added level of security on your entry where you can decrease your multiplier received if you miss one of your entries but hit on all the others. At FTN, we have PrizePicks coverage for every sport in both article and standalone pick format on our PrizePicks pick tracker. Use promo code FTN for a 100% deposit match on your first deposit of up to $100.
Welcome back in. Let's get to this question from Albert here. He says he's currently in first place in his fantasy football league. Congratulations. I love it. I am super jelly. I have to decide who to start at wide receiver as Gabe Davis, Christian Watson, Peoples-Jones, Thielen, Wilson, Jets. I mean, you're in first, right? I don't think you can make a bad choice here. Current lineup is Lamar Jackson, Gabe Davis, Watson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Gano, and Suckup. You're rossing 2 kickers there. Interesting. And then 2 defenses, which I do like. It seems like you know what's happening. No. I don't think he's going to be ready come playoff. I mean, Beckham, guys, like the minute he signs, I mean, trade deadline's probably over. I would just flip him immediately, honestly, especially if he was a member of the Dallas Cowboys. There's some reports that they're offering him a multi-year deal because maybe he can only offer something to them come real playoff time in the NFL, like he did for the Rams. He was really good, but if he goes to Dallas, what are we talking about? CD's the 1, Schultz is the 2. Michael Gallup's looked pretty good over the past couple weeks. He's got to learn the system. They still like to run the rock with both running backs. I mean, I don't think Beckham is going to offer anything to any fantasy squads unless he ends up on the Giants, because what are we talking about there? We're talking about him potentially being the 1 if he can get healthy. To answer your first question, Gabe Davis is very boomer bust, and you know this. I would probably sit him, to be honest. I mean, I'm playing Watson. I'm playing Wilson and Watson for sure. Like these guys, what Wilson did last week with Mike White, there's no question in my mind I'm playing him. And Christian Watson has been great. And if you have the fear of Jordan Love starting, Jordan Love hooked up with him. There was a touchdown. It sounds like Rodgers is good to go. And the Bears don't have anybody great defensively. Maybe I do play Gabe as my 3rd there. I like Peoples-Jones, but maybe it's a wait and see to see, which guy Deshaun Watson really kind of locks in. But it's a great matchup against the Texans. But I'm playing, I guess I would go Davis, Watson, and Wilson in there as well. It looks like you're in a pretty good spot. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones could be really, really nice for you down the stretch of the season. We really don't have too much time. Let's bring up the week 13 lines just quickly. We'll just toss it up there for you guys. And a couple that I've jumped on already. I do like the over. It's a lot of points between Detroit and Jacksonville. I think we'll continue to see a lot of points. Detroit played to the over quite a bit this season. Interesting to see a lot of road dogs here. The Bills, the Steelers, the Packers, the Jags, the Commanders, the Browns, the Seahawks, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Chargers, all road dogs. And I expect all of these teams to cover, to be frank. I think the Packers, even with Rodgers, will roll. I think the Bills will roll tomorrow night against the Pats. I like them over 4 points. I do have a lean to the Steelers here, but probably just better off taking them on the money line. And also the other team that I like, Cleveland. I really do. I know that everyone is going to come up. It's their Super Bowl. The Texans, there's a lot of players that probably want a piece of Deshaun Watson and things like that. But I do believe that Watson will go in there and toss a couple touchdowns. And I just don't feel too great about Kyle Allen and company tossing a couple touchdowns either. The spread that I did jump on was Tennessee at +5.5. Mentioned that yesterday. I think that Derrick Henry, it's just, they have the recipe to beat the Eagles. We saw it a couple weeks ago against Washington. This is a team that has struggled all year long, stopping double teams at the line of scrimmage, stopping running backs who can run the rock. And we know that Derrick Henry is one of the best at doing that. So I think this is going to be a field goal game, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans went into the link and won that football game against Philadelphia. One more break, and we're going to wrap up the show with some NHL props and some picks. We'll dive into that schedule a little bit deeper tomorrow and kind of give my thoughts on some start and sits from all of those matchups as well. Just the 2 teams on bye. The Carolina Panthers are not on bye. It's the Arizona Cardinals. And it doesn't matter. We got NHL picks on the other side. Hang tight. Welcome back in. One final segment here, a couple NHL props. Albert, I appreciate that comment. Awesome show. Chris is always spreading the word, how informative you are, and your guests. Yeah, all the guests are really great. I mean, they're all super sharp, and I love the feedback that we've had. So appreciate that. Mark as well says great show. Love the info and the advice. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We'll look to get some guests that follow some of these teams to maybe get an inside scoop. Maybe I'd take advantage of some of the colleagues I used to work with at the Athletic, like Matt. Maybe we can get in and get him in and get some a different take, a fresh take, and something a little bit different than mine. But I do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys for sure. So 4 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. I do have a couple shot props here for you. Leading with Austin Matthews. I actually don't really have a lot of analysis to say about Austin Matthews besides the fact that he is heating up. Him and Kyle Connor, one of the biggest buy low candidates over the past couple weeks, and the window is closed on both. Not that you can get Austin Matthews from anybody. He does have goals in back-to-back games, up to 11 now on the season. He had 3 goals at 5-5 just a couple weeks ago, but he's got 5 shots and 6 shots in his last 2 games. A matchup here against the Sharks, who won last night, but it's the second half of a back-to-back. Man, they took a lot of penalties last night too. I know they lead the league in penalty kill percentage, but you don't want to be taking penalties against this Leafs team. So I'm in on Austin Matthews and the fact that we can get it at plus money at 4.5. And a couple other shot props that I like here for tonight. A lot of 3.5s on the board, but these are the guys that I would go to for 3.5s, like Brady Tkachuk. His last few games, 7, 8, 6, 5, 4, 6, 6, 3, 5, 6, 6, right? He's just been shooting the puck quite a bit. Mika Zibanejad, fun little revenge game for him, but I don't mind taking him at 3.5. You see a lot of these odds are over at Bet Rivers. Use our prop shop to get the best possible odds. Connor McDavid at 3.5. Our guy Tage Thompson at 3.5. There are a couple of things you could do if you don't want to take the juice. I got Brady Tkachuk and William Nylander over at DraftKings at plus 182. I got Tage Thompson and Connor McDavid over at DraftKings at plus 177. Chris Kreider and John Tavares over at DraftKings at plus 165 if you don't want to drink that juice. And then Mitch Marner riding a 17-game point streak. He's got 3 and 8 shots over his last 2 games. This is a price that I can get behind, and I do expect the Leafs to roll. I like them on the puck line tonight against the Sharks. I like the Rangers against the Senators. And then there was one more pick that I had on the way out. It was, the Edmonton Oilers in 60 to help us out there. So we're not spending a ton of money on juice. I got a couple more props, goal scorers, all that stuff. FTNBets.com/free to check out our FTN bet tracker. Have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.